About a year ago, I did a tutorial on the falling leaves pattern, and it was by far my most watched video that I have ever done. And I have never done anything with that pattern since then. So I thought I would make a bag with that. And after I got the bag almost done, I realized that I should probably do a video. And so I am going to demonstrate this, but since I've already started and I don't have any more black bottoms, I'm going to get the bag started for the tutorial on a brown bottom. And then once I get the pattern going, I will go back to this bag to show you how to finish it off. I'm going to use a 4.5 millimeter hook to pull the yarn through the holes, and then I will use a 6.5 to complete the stitches. And I'm going to use scissors, a crochet needle, and I will put D-rings and a strap. And I'm using this ribbon yarn, and I will put a link in the description box to this yarn and a couple of alternatives that you can use. It's a flat cotton type yarn. It has a little bit of a stretch to it. And in the video where I showed how to do the falling leaves, I did show that you can do this pattern in a double crochet or a half double crochet. So the typical pattern is the double crochet, but if you change every double crochet in the pattern to a half double crochet, it still works. You just have a little bit of a tighter stitch. It really doesn't change the look of the stitch at all. And I'm going to start with the brown, and then once I get the pattern going, we're going to go back to this bag to show you how to finish it. And when I did this bag, I did not add a slip stitch to the base, and I realized later that I probably should have done that. It would have looked better. So this one does not have a slip stitch around the bottom, but I will demonstrate it with the slip stitch on the bottom. So to begin, have a little bit of a tail. You don't need too terribly long of one. And take the 4.5 millimeter hook and pull your yarn through and make a slip stitch in every hole around the base. And I'm going to use the tail to close the row. So when you get to the last hole, pull the yarn through with the tail. Pull it all the way through the hole. Come over to the first stitch. Pull your yarn through. And then go to the last hole. Put your hook in and bring it through the middle of the stitch. Pull your yarn through that loop and tighten all your stitches up. For the foundation row, we're going to do single crochets on the straight edge, and then there will be 3 increase stitches in every corner, and then single crochets in between the 2 corners that have the increased stitches. I like to have my first stitch of the base be the first single crochet that goes on that edge. So I've got 3 stitches that have single crochets in them. If you have a different hole count or your bag is smaller or larger, you may need to adjust that. So these stitch counts are only for the same size bag that I have that has the same size, the same number of holes in it. So now I'm going to do 3 stitches or 3 holes that have increased stitches in them. And then I will go back to doing single crochets on the straight edge until I get to the next curve. I should mention before I go too much further, this is a 4-stitch pattern. So when you complete this foundation row, you need to make sure that your stitch count is a multiple of 4 or your pattern is not going to work out. So if your hole count is different because your base bottom is a different size than mine, then you may need to put another increase somewhere around your foundation row so that your pattern is a multiple of 4. And now we're going to do single crochets on our straight edge. And now I'm over to the next curve, so I will be doing increased stitches in 3. And then I will do 3 stitches of single crochets. And then another 3 stitches of increases, and then back to the single crochets on the straight edge. I have 3 holes left, and these will all be increased stitches. And to close the row, I loosen the loop, I go behind the first stitch and pull that loop through. And because this next row is going to be going in the back loop only, I'm only going to put my hook through one of those loops. And that way it will be the same as the back loop only. And I'm also going into that back bump. So just grab the back loop and the back bump, and then get that loop back on your hook, tighten it all up, pull the working yarn through, and chain one, and then chain another one. Before you go any further, double check that your stitch count is a multiple of 4. Our chain 2 is going to be the first double crochet in this row, and because this is a multiple of 4 pattern, you have 4 stitches per section, and the beginning of each row will have either a chain 2 or a chain 1, and those will serve as the first stitch of a 4-stitch pattern. So we're going to put double crochets in every stitch in this row. We're going to go through the back loop and the back bump. We are not going to be using the front loop of the stitch at all. So put a double crochet in every stitch around this row. And again, I will be closing my row the same way as I did before. So when I complete the last stitch, I go over to the first stitch that I completed. Make sure that you're not doing your chain 1 or chain 2, because that chain 2 is your first stitch in this row. So you do not want to mess with that one. So go to the first stitch, the top of the first stitch, pull your loop through, and now you can see that chain 2 there acts as one of your double crochets. And then now, since we're not doing the back loop only anymore, you're going to put your hook through both of those loops. Grab your loop and then pull your working yarn through. And for round 2, we're going to chain 1 and put a single crochet in every stitch in this round. And again, the chain 1 that you just did is your first single crochet in this row. This is round 2 of 5. And I will be closing every row the same way as previously done. And now you can see that chain 1 acts as a single crochet in the round. For round 3, we will chain 2. That will act as a double crochet. And because that is acting as a double crochet, our pattern is 3 double crochets and a leaf stitch. And so that is our first double crochet. We need to do 2 more double crochets. So in the next 2 stitches, do a double crochet and then a leaf. And that is how you get your 4-stitch pattern. So this is our second double crochet. And our third. A leaf stitch, you're going to do a front post stitch around the 4th double crochet in round 1. So skip those 3, go to the 4th one. We're going to go around the post. So when you insert your hook, go behind the post that way. Yarn over, go around the post, yarn over, pull your yarn through around the back of the post. You have 3 loops, yarn over, go around the post again, yarn over, pull through. You have 5 loops, yarn over and pull through all 5. And then you're going to see the loop on the row that the stitch that is, you're going to skip that stitch because that is in front of the leaf stitch. So then we go to the next stitch and do a double crochet. So now we have our 3 double crochets, our leaf stitch, and now we're going to go back and repeat. So we do 3 more double crochets, or we do 3 stitches with the double crochets in them. So now we're going to repeat that till we get to the end of the round. 3 double crochets and a leaf, 3 double crochets and a leaf. When you do your leaf stitch, make sure that you are pulling your loops up to the same height as the double crochets that you were doing. Otherwise, your leaf stitches will be pulling down. When you get to the end of the round, your very last stitch is going to be a leaf stitch. and that is because you started your row with 3 double crochets. So in order to keep the pattern correct, if you start the row with 3 double crochets, which we're counting the chain 2 as a double crochet, then you end with a leaf. For round 4, we're going to chain 1 and put a single crochet in every stitch. This is the end of round 4. Our pattern has a total of 4 rows that are going to repeat, rows 2 through 5. So round 5 is going to be chain 2, and this chain 2 again will act as a double crochet. So this round is going to be starting the chain 2 as the double crochet is going to be 1 double crochet, and then we will do a leaf pattern, and that is how you keep your leaf stitches staggered in between each other. So you see that middle double crochet, that is where your leaf stitch is going to go in every round. So this is as if we are starting this round with 1 double crochet and then putting a leaf stitch in that center double crochet. And then we will immediately go into doing a double crochet in 3 stitches, and then we will go back and do our repeat of leaf, double crochet in 3. So make sure that you're skipping that stitch that acts as your leaf stitch. Otherwise, if you put a double crochet there, you're going to end up with too many stitches at the end of the row. So now we're doing our double crochet in 3, and then we will go back to our repeat pattern of leaf, double crochet in 3. When you get to the end of round 5, we're going to end with double crochet in 2. And the reason you do that is because we started with 1. So you need 2 more double crochets to go with that double crochet you started with, which is actually a chain 2, to make it look like you have 3 double crochets in a row. So here I am doing the last leaf stitch, and then you can see there's this, it looks like there are 3 stitches left, but one of those is the leaf. So the last 2 is going to be double crochet, and then when you close up your round and bring it over to that chain 2, it's now going to look like there are 3 double crochets together. So now you're just going to repeat rounds 2 through 5 for the rest of your project. Rounds 2 and 4 being just single crochets. So every other round that you do will just be a row of single crochets. And then the other rows will be the rows with your leaf patterns. One of those rows will begin with double crochet in 2 after doing the chain 2. And then the other one will be a leaf pattern to start with after you do your chain 2. Once you get to the last of your rounds that you're going to do, when you do your last round 2, add your D-rings. And I do have a tutorial just on D-rings, so I will put that link in the description box. And I'm going to end the project with round 4, which is a single crochet row. And then I'm going to do a slip stitch around the top of the project. So just put a slip stitch in every stitch around, and you don't need to do a chain 2, or I mean a chain 1 at this. And for the straps, I purchased some by the yard polyester straps, and I just cut it to fit. I just got the black so it would match the bottom, and I purchased a yard, and so each strap is a half of a yard long. And this is how I am going to put it through the D-rings, and then I'm going to fold it over, and then I'm just going to run my sewing machine across the top of that. When you get to the end of the slip stitch round, cut your yarn and then close your round the same way that you did the slip stitch round in the base. and then you can weave that tail in with a crochet hook. The height of this bag is 10.5 inches tall, and it is just slightly wider than the base. And I've added the straps, and I have also sewn some fabric on the inside. So I also want to show you what the bag looks like with the half double crochet. So I went ahead and did this bag in half double crochet, and you can tell that it really doesn't look any different than the double crochet way. It's just slightly thicker as far as how much stretch the bag has. So if you need something a little bit more sturdy, you might want to go with the half double crochet stitches. But you can see that it doesn't really look very different at all.